The cost. The promise we made right here, 1 year ago, to take down the Roman. In the end, was it worth it?
He's asking if the good guys won.
Yes, the good guys won. But we won't know for a very long time if it was worth it.
Hello, I'm Seth, the topless editor-in-chief of Forbidden Origins Comics, and happy Halloween. Recently, I watched the DC animated adaptation of Batman: The Long Halloween. Now, if you don't know what that story is, you do actually. Almost every Batman thing created since it was written has been based somewhat on that story. It was a major inspiration for The Batman. It was definitely a big inspiration in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, along with Batman Year One and The Killing Joke, unfortunately. It is a cornerstone of the Batman mythos. Batman: The Long Halloween is a detective story about a killer that kills mob members on holidays that villains call the holiday. It starts on a Halloween and it lasts for an entire year. The book is told in 13 issues. Each issue is about a specific holiday and how the holiday killer is annihilating essentially the fucking crime families of Gotham to make way for the supervillains that later take over. A few years ago, it was adapted into one of DC's various animated films that they made, and it kind of fucking sucks. And it also drastically diverges from the original story in several points, making it worse. Number one, the art is just not that interesting, especially compared to the comic book. The comic was drawn by Tim Sale. They're very exaggerated figures. Batman is like this hulking brute, kind of fantastical. The mob bosses are kind of like square and boxy. And then you have the supervillains who are also just as fantastical as Batman, kind of demonstrating that the old mafia is all like the old square shit. They're done. Here's the new crew, and Batman is made to fight them. But because the movie is set in the Tomorrowverse, which is a 10 film run of DC's shot at an animated universe after the last animated universe based on their new 52 finished up. It has that house style, which I don't mind. I thought it worked pretty well for the Superman movie, and even the Supergirl movie I watched too. I haven't really watched anything else in it. It doesn't really work for this story, and you can tell it really cheaps out sometimes. There are some drag and drop character animations in this fucking movie, which is unfortunate because I watched a lot of the new 52 ones and even the ones before that, and those were animated pretty well. Even when Young Justice had its budget slashed, it looked much better. And then you get into the other changes of the movie, and you're like, why the fuck did they do any of this? Why is Catwoman now in the movie a lot more than she was in the book? And she was super important in the book, but now in the movie she's kind of filled this Nightwing role, a Nightwing that Batman fucks. That's not her character. She doesn't feel like Catwoman as much as she does a superhero that also lives in Gotham. It doesn't quite work out, and in order to shoehorn her in the movie, she has to do some really stupid shit that I don't quite agree with. We'll get to that later.
Bruce!
Wait, Bruce? Wayne? Bruce Wayne is the Batman?
Some of the changes make sense. The original book is 13 issues, one for each holiday. They cut down on, I think they remove April Fool's Day. Valentine's Day also gets truncated into a post-credit scene in the first movie, and then the opening 5 minutes of the second one, which makes sense. If you're animating that, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to cut some shit out, which kind of sucks. And that removes Riddler's involvement in it, which he had a pretty cool part where the mafia has to go to the Riddler, has to involve themselves with one of these freaks in order to try to stop what's happening to them, and it doesn't work. Oh, another problem is it's supposed to be a mystery, and the mystery is supposed to not be easy to solve, but be solved by somebody reading the book. But the clues in the movie, you see the killer. You see the killer pretty early on. It looks like Harvey Dent, right? And you're like, well, that's just clearly fucking Harvey because you didn't even silhouette him. It's just a guy that's as tall as Harvey, that's as boxy as Harvey, that has the same eyes and hair. What are you talking about? But they changed the identity of the killer, and it makes no sense. So now we're going to get into the endings of both film and why I do not like what they did with Catwoman. So at the ending of part one, it takes place on New Year's Eve. Batman is fighting the Joker above Gotham because he believes at first that he's a holiday killer, but Joker's like, no, I'm just trying to kill the holiday killer, and if I kill all of Gotham, I'll get him. Crazy logic because he's the Joker. That happens in both the book and the movie. However, in the book, Alberto Falcone, the son of Falcone, is shot and killed. In the movie, the Joker says something about puzzles, and Batman goes like, oh, Alberto was solving a crossword puzzle. So he goes to the boat where Alberto gets shot, and in the comic, he's not there. But in the movie, Alberto is there with Catwoman as Selina Kyle, and then when Batman comes up, Catwoman says, oh shit, Bruce? And Alberto's like, wait, Batman's Bruce Wayne?
Bruce.
Wait, Bruce? Wayne? Bruce Wayne is the Batman?
What? They made Catwoman that fucking dumb? In the comic book, it's kind of a question on whether or not she knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Probably not, but maybe. But in the movie, she knows because they're trying to connect both of their identities. While in the book, they were only trying to do this halfway thing. And that's why in the book, it doesn't work out, is because they're going halfway with things. But in the movie, they're trying to go all the way. So they know each other's identities. But she sells out Bruce in front of Alberto Falcone. What the fuck? And then we see the killer that looks like Harvey Dent shoot him, and he gets ground up in the fucking propellers of the boat, eliminating him. So one, it makes a fucking Catwoman look like a fucking idiot. And two, you see who the killer is supposed to be. And three, Alberto was the fucking killer in the book. Yeah, that's right. The end of the book reveals that Alberto was one of the holiday killers. And guess what? There are multiple holiday killers. But the movie says there's only one, and it eliminates one of the major killers of the fucking story. So already, if you watch that part, you're like, what the fuck is part 2 going to be? And guess what? Part 2 largely follows the same plot, except it makes even less sense because they kept most of it. And they ruined the last third of that fucking movie by ruining the reveal of Two-Face. That's another thing about The Long Halloween. It's supposed to be an origin story for Two-Face. At the beginning of the book, you see him, Gordon, and Batman come together and make a vow to protect Gotham City by the book. It's something that you saw in The Dark Knight. Again, it's one of the most important comic books in Batman history. Of course, it's going to be in the movies as well. But in the book, he gets horribly scarred, right? You know the thing. He gets acid thrown in his face, blah, 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 blah. But then later on, hey kitty, in the book, you don't see him for a while until the mafia is finally down to its last few. And that's when he unlocks the gates in all of fucking Arkham, takes all the supervillains to the mafia place. And then that's when you first see him. You see him surrounded by the other villains, and you see him with his fucking coin, and he's like, all right, kill that motherfucker. That's the first time you see him in the book. In the movie, what they do is they decide to follow him as he escapes from the hospital after he gets his face melted off. They follow him. He looks like Curly from fucking mouthwashing for some reason. I don't know why. That's just a me thing, I think, because I think mouthwashing came out after this. But you see him do stuff. You see him do villainous shit. And it's that ruins his reveal. And when you see him for the first time, he's with Solomon Grundy fighting Batman and Gordon, in an alley. It doesn't feel like it has any weight to it. And so when they finally get to, the supervillains fighting against the mob, it doesn't feel like anything. It's just a march of villains going to a building, rather than the cool ass reveal where they turn on the lights, all the villains are there with Harvey Dent. And it just doesn't feel right. And the reason they've included Catwoman so much in this movie is because they wanted to do that idea that the Batman also dealt with, that even comic books written by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale have played with post Long Halloween, is that she is Falcone's daughter, and they just wanted to shove that in there, and it doesn't. The way they use it is kind of shitty, because she takes her mask off in front of Falcone and goes oh man, and then walks out of the room, and he's oh, it's my daughter. Where was any of the... Why do that? There's no emotion there. It's oh shit. It's isn't that a crazy reveal? It's like, okay. When that happened in The Batman, that was an incredibly emotional moment. You did not even reach that fucking height. What are you talking about? Why did you include her so much in the movie? Why did you make her dumb just to be in this movie? It doesn't make sense. One thing that this movie does do that's interesting, though, is that Falcone knows that the Batman is Bruce Wayne. There may have been some hints of that in the comic, but the movie definitely plays into it, and how the mafia was like protecting Gotham the only way they knew how, but now Batman can do it. And so it's kind of like a passing of the torch. That was kind of cool for what they did with the movie.
All we get is all we take.
Do you still believe?
Yes, I do.
Good.
But they killed Alberto real early on, so you can't even play with that parallel. You ruined the movie itself. The movie introduced its own idea and ruined it by killing Alberto halfway through the fucking story. When Alberto should have been the parallel to Batman, going like, I can carry on this legacy by murdering everybody. But they didn't. So you're probably wondering, who is the Holiday Killer? Well, in the book, it's revealed that Alberto Falcone is the Holiday Killer. One of them. In fact, he didn't start the holiday murders. Somebody else did. In the comics, after they capture Two-Face, Two-Face reveals there are two holiday killers. And so Gordon's like, wait, who the fuck can the other one be? And then Batman reasons that, well, it must be Two-Face, because then he would be the second holiday killer because he also killed a lot of these men. So he's like, well, obviously it's Two-Face. But it's revealed that it's Two-Face's wife, Gilda. Now, Gilda is kind of like a background character in both the books and the movies, but the movies kind of like bring her in a little bit more, but kind of like infuse like some, she's weird. The reason she started the holiday murders in the book was so that she and Harvey Dent could spend more time together, because he's always out trying to fight crime. And she's like, okay, if I get rid of the mafia, then he'll come back to me. But soon after she started the killings, it was clear that that wasn't going to happen, so she stopped. And Alberto took the reins from then on out. And she's like throwing her shit away into the fucking, all the evidence away into the furnace and going like, I guess it's good that everybody believes that Alberto's the holiday killer, even though I started it. And it's left as a question, how many people did Alberto kill versus Two-Face versus Gilda? In the movie, the sole killer is Gilda. And then they try to manufacture this backstory of how Alberto and Gilda were pregnant, had a secret marriage that the mafia didn't approve of. So she was like, all right, I'm going to annihilate everybody. And then Batman finds it out. Somehow he finds it out. He goes to Gilda and he's like, I know you did it. I'm going to let you go. That's wrong. Everybody wants to believe that Batman is like a super duper genius. He never gets anything wrong. But this is supposed to be Batman year 2. It's okay if he fucks up a detective. It's okay if he fucks up. He's learning to be a detective. He's learning to be Batman. He doesn't even have Robin yet. It's okay if he's wrong. But this ending just feels like, well, Batman cannot be wrong. Batman can't be wrong. Batman can't be wrong. So he's going to find out it's Gilda. But we want to keep that ending of like the true villain getting away. So we'll just let Batman let her go. And it's like, that's not why that ending was interesting. The ending isn't interesting because she got away. The ending is interesting because nobody fucking knew it was her, including Batman. It's just weird that like it's an animated movie made by DC, and DC doesn't have like that higher up thing that, you know, the MCU does, or even DC now does with James Gunn. Like, if you're the animated people, you can just do the story. You can just take that story and animate it. And I know, like, I think they wanted it to be in that house style to make it fit in the Tomorrowverse. Okay, fine. It can have that art style. Why change any of the story? Why make those changes to the story at all? Who the hell is telling you to do that? I don't understand. Also, I want to say, R.I.P. Naya Rivera. I didn't like Catwoman as she was written, but having seen her in like Glee, I think she would have played like a great live action Catwoman, especially in the vein of the Batman. So it really sucks to see her go. Also very interesting that the Tomorrowverse loves Glee, because Darren Criss plays Superman. Interesting.
The long Halloween is over.
Anyway, I'm Seth, the topless editor-in-chief for Forbidden Origins Comics. Happy Halloween.